I know the passion that Mike Morencie brings. That's why I was excited a few years ago when we added him to the staff and back to the fraternity. Even when he was gone, he was always a good support person for me. I could always bounce things off of him, and I know that he's hungry to win. And I know that his goal is not just to compete, not just to get good, but to be great. And I can't think of a better guy to own the team than that. I can't think of a better guy to work for than that. And there's obviously going to be questions on how things are going to work. He's going to remain on staff as long as he wants. He's going to be the defensive coordinator because he's the best at that. And I wouldn't think of a better guy to have in that position. And obviously there's going to be some dynamics that are going to be involved with me being the head coach and having the owner work under me. That's a little different. But you know what? I've coached with him for 3 years now, and we haven't had any issues because we both see things, we both see the big picture. We both know how football works, particularly in this community. We both understand hierarchy and how things work that way as well. And on the field, there's going to be a hierarchy of me being in charge, and off the field, there's going to be a hierarchy of him being in charge. And you know what? It might not be utopian. It might not be the way that everybody else does it, but it's the way we do it, and we're going to do it the best we can. And I expect great things. I will talk to our team when I address the team next week. They'll be told that it's win, and that's the goal, and that's the direction we're going. So again, I'm real happy about this, and I couldn't think of a better guy to lead the way. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Coach. And now we will hear from Mr. Mike Morencie. Mike.
Thanks very much. We are in the business now of trying to and working toward winning national championships. That's our mandate. I don't believe in setting goals that aren't big. If we're going to do this, why don't we do it with the thought in mind that we're going to take this thing to the national level as soon as we possibly can. A lot of the other things are in place. We had a great situation last year with kind of between the white lines and on the field things went well. But as John mentioned, we had some struggles outside the white lines, and now that's his job to take care of that end of it. It's my job to go between the lines and between the white lines and get this thing to where we want to take it, to where we believe it can go, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. I want to thank John for his help with this. John, as kind of like chairman of the executive committee of the fraternity, I want to thank him for his diligence, and this was a tough road, a couple months of looking what was best. We wanted to look what was best for the product, what was best for AKO, and what was best for our kids. And this is a plan that we collectively came up with that was going to get us where we wanted to go. It really structures AKO's mandate, as John talked about, looking back at the old charter in the late 1920s. This is what AKO was meant to do. And I think the fraternity has to get back to that, to their roots, if I guess I can say that. So that's sort of John's mandate now, and my mandate is to take over football and take it where we want to take it. And we have big goals. I want to start by saying I think we've got a great coach. Some people asked me last week, well, now that you're running this show, who's going to be the head coach? I said, well, I like the guy I got. I'm pretty sold on him. I think he's good. We have a relationship, Mike and I, that goes back much longer than Mike wants to admit because he's a young guy. Old guys shouldn't mention that kind of stuff. I like Mike as a player. I like him a lot more as a coach. He was a very good player. He's an outstanding head coach. And, I'm going to be the defensive. I'm kind of taking the Jerry Jones role to a horrible extent. I'm not just going to hang around. I'm going to coach. So I'm going to be a real pistol to deal with, I'm sure, some nights. But trust me, when Mike talked about it, I get it. I know what this dichotomy is all about. I know where my place is and where it stops and where it starts. And I've tried not to cause Mike any problems over the last 3 years, and that's not going to change. I really respect how he runs our football team and the job he'll do. I'll have my role. It's going to be tough to fire the defensive coordinator because I thought he did a pretty good job last year. So he might be tough to get rid of him over the next couple of years, but we'll see how that works out. This is going to be a bit of a strange relationship, but I think it's one that Mike and I are 100% positive we can handle. Our job now is for me to listen to Mike and get him what he needs to win. We've got to go out and we've got to recruit players, we've got to recruit coaches, we've got to recruit sponsors, people that share the same vision we have, want to have the same goals we have. This is about Windsor football. We want to put it where we believe it belongs. We want to put it back on the map. We want AKO to be the face of football in this area. That's important to us. We think we can do it. We think there are enough people out there involved in this football gig that can get us where we all really want to go, and that's back to national prominence. So we're going to be turning over every stone. phone and looking for investors, people that want to get involved in what we're doing. If it's individual people that want to get involved, if it's companies that want to sponsor, corporations want to get involved, we don't care. If people want to be involved in AKO junior football, we're there for you. I'm going to talk to you the next couple of weeks, and if I don't talk to you, you sure can call me on the phone. But we're going to get at this, and we're going to hit the ground running, and we're going to make this a program we can all be proud of. Like Mike mentioned, we started football back in the late 1940s. It's been a long time. We have a storied history, and it's time for us to make history again. And that job started actually maybe a couple days ago. Just didn't tell anybody yet, but it officially starts now. We've got a lot of work to do. We're not daunted by it, and we really relish that opportunity to get to work and to get this done. So again, thanks to John for his work in getting this done. I think it's a different way of doing business. It's a different model now, and it's going to be fraught with a couple of loose ends and some bumpy road along the way, but we'll get it done. And I want to thank Mike for taking the leadership with this football team, and I really look forward to working with him and getting this, getting the AKO Fratmen Junior Football Club to national prominence. So thanks very much for your time, and I guess I'm going to entertain questions. Or
we cut the ties, and do you just sponsor the name, or how does that work?
That's a great question, Bob. And the simple answer is that we are still sponsoring the AKO Football Club. Okay, and it's been part of our heritage, as both gentlemen have alluded to. We have every intention of maintaining a strong relationship and a sponsorship role for the team. As Mike said, there is a lot of work to be done in building this new model, but we are very, very convinced that with the team that we put together, we can do just that. As far as the responsibilities of these gentlemen, they will be unfettered, or they have no rules. They completely sail their own ship. We're there for support purposes strictly.
Okay, so is this a long-term deal? Like you sign a deal saying, okay, you can have the AKO name for 5-10 years, or is this going to be a year-to-year thing, or
the contractual agreement is for a long-term arrangement, and there are some other pieces of the puzzle that will be coming in. Mike will be making announcements. The fraternity will be making announcements over the next few weeks and months that sort of come together into a clearer picture of how this is going to work. We're just not at liberty at this time to divulge the details of it, but I think most of you are aware that we are very, very much involved in a project to develop Windsor Stadium. So there'll be more on that, and again, that's with the cooperation of the football club.
John, Mary Caton from the Windsor Star. Are you kind of a liaison then between the two groups now? Are you director of football operations for the CJFL franchise and on the executive committee of the fraternity?
Actually, and that is also an excellent question, and my title has now, because AKO no longer has CJFL football requirements, that is the job of the CEO now that privately owns the team. I'm basically, my role right now, in answer to your question about liaison, is I am the spokesperson for the Board of Governors at the fraternity, and we set the policy collectively as to how the fraternity wants to go forward. At this point, our major consideration is the football club that we've been associated with from day one, and to develop some other opportunities for youth sports. As you may recall, the fraternity has been involved with youth sports for a lot of years: baseball, lacrosse, hockey. We'd like to get back to that, to the youth, and we'd also like to make sure that we have a decent place for them to play. So those are the two main objectives of the fraternity.
So in terms of business for you guys, how do you operate differently than the way it was run before?
Well, we're going to run it like a business now, and that's not what we did before. We were a not-for-profit entity last time, and that model ceased to work for us, realistically. I guess if you could make a comparable decision, I mean, if you look at the CIS level, we're probably going to start doing business like Laval. That's the model we're going to work off of. Or some of the teams out west of the CJFL, very much like the Vancouver Island Raiders who came in here and whipped us the last time we saw them. But that's the sort of model we're looking at now. We're going to go out and we're going to try to, we want to make this a community team, I think is what we want to do in the long run. We want Windsor to be involved in a Windsor team and for them to feel good about it and share our vision, share our passion for what we believe in and move from there. So that's the model we've moved on to now. We'll probably incorporate the whole situation, stuff like that. But it's not. This isn't a money situation at all, Bob. This is a success situation. That's what it's all about. We feel it's an easier way to be successful is with this model, and that's why we've chosen to go in that direction.
Is this model unique within the league, or is it?
It's unique in UFC, I think. The first time that somebody's gone right outside the organization per se.
CJFL,
CJFL, some of the teams out west are working this way, yeah, and working very successfully. And I think we got tired of getting beaten down by that model, and we said maybe it's time for us to enter the fray with the same kind of model. If we choose to compete, we better do business the way the higher up guys are doing business. And I think that's a choice we made as a fraternity, and basically why we kind of made this split was to let that model take place.
We also used, what the Windsor Spitfires have done locally. They were previously private ownership, but I think if you take a page out of their playbook, they've done an excellent job across the board on promoting the game, promoting their game, and developing the facilities, the infrastructure that's required to get to that next level, and certainly the results are there. So we don't think we're reinventing the wheel. Perhaps in football and in the OFC we are, but we know that there are other franchises across the country that are very successful. Mike's mentioned Laval and the CIS. Certainly the Vancouver Island program is following a completely private model, and it seems to be working for them. So we're just, if you can't beat them, join them, I guess. It's the old adage.